Hey there, in this video we're going to take a cat's head base and turn it into a vase using tension and ease and weaving techniques to build up the walls of a basket and play with shape to create a vase. This is going to open up a lot of opportunity for experimentation and creating your own shapes. I'll guide you through making a vase, but you can have it turn out however you want. If you haven't seen the first video in this series where we built the base of our basket and started the cat's head base, go ahead and check the description below for video 1. Watch that, go through the process, and then you can dive in here. We are using the Textile Indie Stair Step Vase Kit. If you want to purchase that, that's linked in the description below. And there is an instruction manual with the pattern. As we weave the walls of this basket, we're going to play with tension and ease. If you've seen the hanging vase basket, we covered how to play with tension and ease to change the shape of your basket or maintain a consistent straight wall in your basket. If you haven't watched that, I highly recommend reviewing that and going through maybe the practice of making a hanging vase basket so that you can play with something that's a little more manageable and a little bit smaller to work with. Go ahead and take your clamps off at this point. Now we're going to take these corner pieces and angle them outwards. So we separate them and we want to make sure that all of these stakes are starting to fan out, so spread out at an angle. We want this to start to form more of a circle shape than the square base that we initially started with. So we'll angle these all out, trying to spread them out evenly. Now I'm going to take this and tilt it up on its side and start to weave from the side. This is naturally going to start to pull the stakes upright slightly, but I do want to incorporate a little bit of ease here at the start. So to create ease, what you're going to do is each time you do a stitch, which is an over one, under one, you're going to grab the weaver on the over. So I'm catching it with my left hand, catching it, go behind one, and then allow a little bit of looseness or a slight bubble to occur here on this over. It's not very dramatic, you can barely tell, but you want just a little bit of extra material there to pull it away from the stakes so it doesn't pull tight in the direction that you're weaving. And as you work, be sure to come in and pack your rows nice and tight because this is going to impact the shape. If they're not tight and then you go tighten them later, your shape is totally going to change. So packing as you go is really important for this basket. I'm going to continue circling around and working in a little bit of ease as I go, catching that, holding it out a little bit as I loop around. And don't forget as you're weaving that this does include a stair step. So when you get to that over two, make sure you move that stair step over one to the right so it's rotating around the basket. I'm going to go over this one and then under. That stair step ensures that I can go back to a over one, under one pattern. You can set this on your work table or wherever you're working and press up on the middle to keep the little feet sticking up, and this middle part should be lifted off the table. There should be some space in there. Whenever you need to splice in a new piece when you've run out of length, cut to the outside or on top of a stake and then weave back forward, doing your 4 stake overlap. So I'll go over the end, behind one, over one, behind one, tuck it behind this 4th one over, and then layer this on top. And it is helpful to put a clamp there so that you can maintain the tension. It doesn't slip out or slip loose on you. And then when you come back to that clamp, you can take it off and continue weaving, making sure that that overlap stays hidden in the basket. For this basket, you're going to count the rows based on the side that you started on. So if you find that tail where it's tucked under here, this is the side I started on. I'm going to count my rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to weave until I have 10 rows where I'm building out in ease, allowing the basket to bow out more. And then once I have that 10 row section, then I'll start working in tension. You can see the stair step start to form around the basket. This is going to spiral around the basket as you build it, and it'll just continue to wrap around as you go. Now at 10 rows or thereabouts, we're going to start to add just a slight amount of tension. So we start to curve in just a little bit. To create tension, it's similar to how we created ease, where we held on to that weaver on and over and then we went under and tried to keep a little bit of looseness there. Now we're going to grab that reed on an over, go under, and then pull slightly. So we just gently angle it in. You don't want to pull so much that it's pulling away from the stakes and causing gaps. You want to just pull a gentle amount each time you do a stitch. So pull, do a stitch, pull, do a stitch. It's almost as if you're just pulling on the weaver as you go. You don't have to do anything too dramatic. Just pull on it slightly as you weave around, and it'll naturally start to curve the stakes upright. Now at this point, if you go too dramatic, what's going to happen is your stakes are going to go in really dramatically, and then you won't have a nice rounded vase. You want to balance just a slight curve so it incrementally starts to pull that in. And we want the bulbous section, or the rounded section of our base, to come up to about here. So another 2.5 to 3 inches on the stake. So we'll pull in slightly for another 2.5 to 3 inches before we maintain and create the neck of our base, and then loosen out to create the opening for another 12 rows or so. Now I am at 22 rows here at this point in the basket, and I've been pulling in gently, starting to curve this in, and you can see that curve in. Now I want to pull in more dramatically, and in the next 10 rows or so, try to get this in pretty dramatic so that I can make the opening fairly small, about 4 to 5 inches in diameter, and then from there I'll open it up again to create a fluted opening. So here at this point, I'm going to pull even more dramatically on my weaver so that this starts to form in. As you do this, what's going to happen is your stakes are going to end up closer and closer together. So in order to account for that, you're going to start to move them, continue to space them evenly in the direction that you're weaving from. So I'm weaving from the left. I'm going to start to angle these towards the left slightly as I weave to try to keep these spaced out somewhat evenly. They are going to get closer together, but we'll continue to work with them to make sure that we can weave between them. And don't forget to do your stair step when you get to that over 2. Just move that over 1 to the right. Continue with 10 rows, adding significant tension and pulling in. Now with 32 rows in place, I've pulled in. You can see from the top my opening is a lot smaller than my base where I started, so I pulled in quite a bit. Now I'm going to go back to that ease, but more of a maintaining the size. So I'm going to pull a little bit on that over and work to get my stakes to sit upright. So I'm creating a angle up. I'm going to build the walls up here and then flute them out in a few rows. So we'll go for about another 10 rows up with the straight up angle, and then we'll loosen up even more. On my basket, I'm at row 39 now total. I'm going to start pulling out even more so that I can flute this out, this opening out more. You can play around with doing this however you want. As with the whole basket, this is your basket, so weaving it and playing around with the results is the point of this basket, seeing what you can create. So here, I'm just going to add an even more dramatic little bubble on the overs to start to allow the stakes to angle outwards. And this first row of dramatic bubbles will look a little bit wobbly. The walls will kind of do this thing where it kind of pushes outwards and we don't have a nice rounded opening. But once we have more rows packed down on top of that and we continue that bubbling out a little bit, it will press the rows or the stakes outwards and create that angle out that we're going for. So continue to weave, adding that bubble. Don't worry about the overall round shape if you're looking at it from the top just yet. That will balance itself out, especially when we put the rim on, but it will balance itself out as we continue to weave as well. Now you want to weave until you have about 1 inch at the top of your shortest stake so that we can do cut and tuck at the top there. So continue weaving until you get to that point, or if you want to stop earlier than that, you can. I'm happy with how this is turning out. The angle up and out is fairly nice, and I don't want it to angle out much more. So I'm going to find the spot where I started down here. This tail's tucked under. This is the wall I want to end on to meet that same tail. So I'm going to loop around, do one more turn around here, and then find the stake that you went over for your starting end, follow that up, and this you want to cut to that same stake and then tuck this behind or down into the row behind it, like so. So I'm going to tuck this behind these weavers and tuck it behind like so. Now I'm going to take this clamp off. To finish this top row, we're going to do one row of start and stop. So grab one more piece of flat oval reed, and we're going to start the start and stop away from that ending tail that we just ended with. So loop this around to another side, start this on the outside of a stake, clamp that in place, and then weave around your basket, maintaining whatever tension you were managing before so that you don't accidentally pull it out of shape. You can get around to your starting end and then go and do a 4 stake overlap. Tuck that tail in place, and now your basket is ready to do the cut and tuck and set up the rim. And there you have some play with tension and ease and maintaining the walls of a basket. This is just how mine turned out. If yours turned out differently, that's totally welcome. There's not one specific way to weave a vase basket or any basket. I highly suggest embracing whatever shape your basket turned into, even if it wasn't necessarily something you had in your head, and continue practicing, because someday with practice you'll be able to manage or control the reed as you work and produce something that you did visualize. Check the description below for the links for the next videos in this series and the resources for the kit and the instruction manual. Thanks so much for joining me in this session, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, check out this video, like and subscribe, and happy weaving. Bye.